Jeff, what is your outlook for the global economy over the coming 5 years?
I think it's important that we put the global economy in the context of the next 5 years, because clearly when we look at 2009 and potentially 2010, I think everybody would know that it's going to continue to be pretty difficult. But we have to look to the other side of that. So in the short term, from a manpower perspective, we would be looking at the labor markets continuing to have some challenges and probably getting worse as some of the downsizing and the demands for products and services will go down as we move into 2009. I think what we have to be careful of is not becoming overly dramatic about it and making sure that we realize that when you look out 5 years, clearly we're going to be back into some health. It may be defined slightly differently. There may be a few different rules of what's happening in the marketplace, but we're going to be just fine. And I think that if we can keep our heads about ourselves and say that, all right, next 18 months, pretty difficult, maybe 2 years, 5 years, we'll be back in business.
Jeff, what ethical and moral concerns need to be addressed to avoid a greater backlash to market capitalism?
I think capitalism has suffered some blows. There's no doubt about it. I think there has been a really earned deterioration of trust when it comes to the capital markets. What we have to be careful of is we have to restore the core trust of the financial markets, ensure that the regulations put in place really are to build that trust. Having said that, we have to be careful that there are other things that are out there that we don't create that mistrust for. Human trafficking is something that Manpower has been deeply involved in. When you look at corporations misusing labor like that, it creates and builds more of that mistrust. So we have to look out into the future at something like human trafficking, at some of the labor policies, and make sure that we take care of those while we're building trust in the core financial systems. If we're able to do that, capitalism is alive and well, no doubt about it. But if we don't take real serious action on those things, I think what we can do is find ourselves falling back on our heels because of some vagaries in the system and companies taking advantage of that.
Jeff, how can companies leverage the shifts in the global economy to create competitive advantages through innovation?
Anytime there's a downturn, companies are always looking at taking innovation and creating a competitive advantage. History books have been written about it, and companies have been invented during a downturn. So it's pretty easy to talk about. It's actually very difficult to do. When you look at medium-sized companies and large companies, they really have a threat position from a new competitor coming in during a downturn. So what they need to do is to take what is a more limited resource, either a financial or human resource, and really focus on a few things that are based on what's happening in the world and where it can be going next. That focus actually can allow you to institutionalize innovation a lot faster. In addition to that, what it does is it really pulls your employee base together. It's able to say that we're in motion, we're thinking about the future. And when you're able to do that, and do that in an innovative way, you actually get two things. You get the product or the service from the innovation, and you get an opportunity to build your employer brand, which is really going to be helpful for you as you move into 2010 or 2011 because of the demographic shortage. So as a leader of an organization, you can really look at two things. What do I need to produce profits for the organization, and how do I improve my employer brand? Both of those can happen during this period of time.
Jeff, how can trust and confidence in the corporate sector be rebuilt in a post-crisis world, and what role does corporate global citizenship play?
Well, there's many factors to rebuilding trust. Clearly, there's trust on the basics for what companies stand for, which is making money and profitability. How do you instill trust back into that process to make sure that money is being made the right way and that it's not being made inappropriately, like what we've seen potentially in the financial institutions or in other places? So that's one kind of trust basis that has to be there. Something that actually goes kind of transversal to that is the trust bringing back that companies can actually do good while they're doing well, that companies can put into social responsibility. So it's really twofold. It's trusting in the financials of the company and the integrity of the company, and trusting that companies actually are looking out for more than just their immediate quarter or next year profitability. And social responsibility can play a major role in that. So companies need to be vocal about what they're doing, and they need to be authentic about what they're doing. Because if they're vocal, but it's not followed through by actions, you actually diminish the trust. If you're vocal and it follows through with actions and results, which all companies like to do, and you have the results in the social responsibility, it can work hand in hand with restoring some trust in this post-crisis time.
Jeff, what are the leadership qualities and personal values needed to take the helm today at the national, regional, and global levels?
Well, now is a difficult time to be a leader, and anyone in the position realizes the pressure involved. And that pressure can really be alleviated in some simple ways, which is the integrity and authenticity of the leader. To be able to really explain and reassure the entire population of their employee population or their colleagues about where the organization is going, what it's being confronted with. Facing the reality that this is a difficult time and that difficult decisions and choices will have to be made. But it's really about getting the team on board. And in order to do that, one of the real abilities that the leader needs to have today is the ability to paint that picture of the vision. Where is that organization going and why is it going there? Once it's painted, your job isn't done. You've got to continue as the leader to define it in a more crisper way, to define the lines and actually maybe make a few little modifications, but still going towards that picture that's been painted. Once you're able to do that and do that in a consistent way, you get a tremendous amount of assistance from your colleagues around the world. Now they take the painting brush and start to fill in some of those colors because the definition has been there. And they're rallying behind that picture of where they need to go. Because now is when you really want the energy of your people from around the world. And in order to do that, you want to include them in the process. So clearly it's about integrity, it's about authenticity, it's about facing reality, but then it's painting a clear picture and redefining it that says, this is where we're going.
Jeff, what are the projects and initiatives that you are engaged in with the World Economic Forum, and what drove your choice to partner with the forum on those projects?
The World Economic Forum and Davos, in addition to the regional ones, really give us a unique forum to bring forward many of the things that are very close to us, which is all around labor markets and employment. So when you look at the initiatives that we're involved in and we care most about, whether it be women in the workforce and women in leadership positions, wellness of the workforce, or even the bigger agenda about talent, which is being talked about, these are things that we have a lot of information on and we are very tied to emotionally. So the Economic Forum gives us the chance to really have a platform to discuss that, to learn from that, to hear from other experts, but also add our expertise and our knowledge into that discussion, which we think is very important for us as global community to move forward, is to really address this talent and employment situation.